And you should be seeing my screen. So we're going to do our best to complete Marketing Cloud Connect today. All right. Yesterday, the last thing we did was create a report that contains 4 leads, and then we sent an email from the CRM using a Marketing Cloud email and the Marketing Cloud interface from inside of the CRM to send an email to those 4 leads. So we're going to check to see if the email went through or not, because that's one of the last things we have to do in this integration process. That's how you know if it's working or not. Well, that's one of several ways to know if this important bit is working or not. So the 4 leads we had. So for the 4 of you who provided your information and I entered into the system as leads, please, you can put it in the chat or speak up. Let me know, did you receive the email we sent yesterday? So the 4 people in question are these people. So David, Greg, Robert, and Udwak. Did you get the email that was sent yesterday? So you can put it in the chat. And I'm also going to check here in Salesforce. So we can check by going to the email sent object. Okay, and you can just say, well, let's see all. Oh, look, the send status says processing data, which means it's probably not gone through. So I don't expect that you get it. Sure, let's check for the subject line. I doubt you'll have received it because based on that status message, it likely did not go. But just so we eliminate all options, let's go check for the subject line. So the email was, I saved it in my 2023 folder. All right, so it's this one with the subject line, Marketing Cloud Connect test email. So you likely did not get it, but so if it went through, it should say either complete or success or sent, not processing data. Okay, so let's also go check here in the send section. So there are different places where you can check to see if the email went through. So we sent it yesterday, the 27th. There's nothing here for the 27th. There's something on the 26th, and there's stuff that was sent today. Nothing for the 27th. And then, so here's what we'll do. It didn't go through yesterday. Let's give it one more try today. See if it'll go this time. Not sure why it didn't go through yesterday, but let's quickly run through that exercise again. So in the CRM, so we want to go to Marketing Cloud from the CRM. Okay, so from here, I'm going to, I'll use this window. We want the Marketing Cloud object. Click on it, and it should take us to it's a bit slow, but it works. So it launches the connector, which is that middle ground between the CRM and Marketing Cloud. And then what we expect to see is this interface where we can go ahead and send our email. So here we are. Now let's go find our email message. So we know the email message is saved so if we go back to Content Builder, saved in the 2023 folder for 2023. Let's go find it. So Content Builder. And by the way, you see here, the shared content folder, just like you have it here, the shared content folder. You can access any shared items from another business unit. So same access you have here, but I digress. Let's go to the 2023 folder and then fall 2023. And that's our email message. That's the subject line. Okay. Next step is to select our recipients. So our recipients are those 4 leads we created yesterday and added into a report in this folder. So it's marketing, cloud connect, leads test, report. So that's the report. Let's just double check. Nothing has changed on the report. So that's the report right there. And let's also double check that we have our lead ID because this is vital. That's our subscriber key. So we have all the right information. So moving on. Section, select the desired value. Okay. So we've got the right email, we've got the right e-list. We're not excluding anyone. Okay, who do we want it to go from? We want it to go on behalf of the integration user. Well, you know, let's see. We can select some of the existing send classifications. So let's try that. Let's go commercial send. And then we want it to deduplicate subscribers. And then we want it sent immediately. We're not scheduling for future. We certify that all these people have opted in. And, okay. Thank you for the update. Let's see. The right email, the right list, using this send classification. Let's go see what is that send classification. Just to make sure. So if I was going to send this email, let's see, Black Force commercial send classification. So this commercial send classification has the sales operations sender profile. So that's what we selected here, and that's what we expect to see when the email, if the email gets delivered to these 4 people. One more thing we can check for, just to make sure our email works. Now, this was not in the step-by-step guide, but this is something you should do in general before you send any email. So when you create an email message, you always want to preview your email message to make sure there are no issues with some of this personalization that you're trying to use. So let's go find, let's see if I have any data extension. Okay, so this has the first names. Okay, so there's no error message. It's pulling in the first name, it's pulling in the system attributes, it's pulling in the company name. So the email is fine. There's no issue with the email message. Okay, so now let's go ahead and click on send. So it's processing my request. Okay, so you see, this is now, how many zeros is this? 6, 7 zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. And if we go back to, if we go Perhaps we should just add that tab here, so we don't have to be searching for it all the time. Yeah, about that. And then marketing cloud one. All right, so I don't have to search for it. And I want it before, which one is, it's too far away. So let's move it up. And even further up. All right, so that should make it visible. Almost. All right, let's go to the email sent tab. The one we sent yesterday was the one with all the zeros. The one we just sent now is the one with the one. So its status says sending. That is a good sign. Let's see, for the one from yesterday, what's the status? It says completed. Did you really complete it? Oh, well. So our 4 leads from yesterday, please check your inbox. Let's see if, oh, look at that. So this is the one from yesterday. It says processing data, still saying that. Whereas the one we just sent today, a minute ago, says completed. So, but it doesn't give me my sender profile information here. That's fine. So please check your inboxes, the 4 of you. While you do that, I'm going to check. So let's take a look here. The data, the tracking data doesn't show up instantly in the CRM, but as soon as it's available, it gets populated in here. So see that? And then let's go check in Marketing Cloud. Let's go to Sends. We'll see if it shows up here. Oh, look at that. See that? That's the email we sent from the CRM. That's the name of the message. That's when it was sent, which is a minute ago. It was sent to 4 people. There's no tracking data yet, but based on this, it's been delivered to 4 people. We go into that message. Let's go take a look. So that's the right subject line. Let's see, the 4 people it was sent to. So we can click on that to see those names. But you'll notice here, from the data extensions section, see the name of the data extension. It has the prefix Salesforce with this random string of characters. But you see this when a message is sent to a Salesforce report, because that's what we did. We sent it to a Salesforce report. But I'm going to show you where this data extension lives in the CRM. So it's somewhere here. I'll go back and show that to you. But let's take a look at the data here. Data is not available yet. All right, that's fine. But this is a better sign than the one we sent yesterday. And then the other thing to keep in mind in terms of the tracking data for this one, the email message we created, one, we did not include a code snippet that allows us to track opens and clicks. I am just realizing that. The instructions that were here did not require that. So see here, when we were following these instructions to build the email, there was no step to include that code snippet. So for those of you who might think I'm speaking French right now. Let me show you what I mean. So let's go take a look at that email message. So here's that email message, yes? Right now, this email message does not include a code snippet. And what I mean by a code snippet for tracking purposes is right here. Where is it? Is supposed to be it's supposed to be one for tracking data. Perhaps because this is in text only. Anyways, typically when you're creating an email, you're doing it in HTML. But I think maybe for a reason they've asked us to do this in text only. And when you create a text only email message, you are not able to add a code snippet. All right. So I think we can disregard that bit about code snippet. But if we're creating an HTML email, let's say, let me quickly show it to you. So let's say this was the September 28th email. Yes. Let's say I had all my HTML in here. You have to include this track email opens code snippet. Not including this in an HTML email will result in this kind of result where you don't know if anybody opened or clicked. All right. So that's what I mean by the code snippets. You always have to include it in your HTML emails. That's the feature that allows Marketing Cloud to track when people open the email, click on links in the email, and all that good stuff. All right, now, folks, did you get the email message? All right. Okay, so Udak received it. Greg received it. David received it. Well, that's 75%. I didn't like Robert, but Robert, check your spam or junk mail, or it just might be delayed for some reason. But I'll take 75% out of 100. That's not too shabby. So, folks, if we come back here and just take a look at all these sends. Our first try yesterday didn't go through for some reason, but this one we just did went through, and it went to 3 out of 4 people. Most likely, Robert will receive it before the end of today's class. So that's a good sign. So if we scroll down, that's this bit here. So the email went through, and so based on this, when your email does go through, in your inbox, that's it. Marketing Cloud Connect is connected. So that's the second to the last thing that we need to do. So we've built our bridge, we've turned the lights on, we've sent data both ways, and we see that it works. Okay. Just before I forget, I was going to show you this data extension. So how do you know where this data extension that got automatically created sits inside of Marketing Cloud? So this was a report in the CRM that we sent the email to, but Marketing Cloud pulls that information from the CRM, pulls it into Marketing Cloud, automatically creates a data extension, and pulls in all the fields that you had in your report. So see here, it pulls in all these fields. So let's go take a look. Where do you find that data extension? So by default, so folks, this is a quick tip for you. If at any point you're working on an integrated Marketing Cloud account. So a Marketing Cloud account that's connected to a CRM, the Salesforce CRM. If at any point you're looking for a data extension, you're not sure where it's saved, most likely it's in the data extensions main folder. So the root folder, this one that's highlighted, that's where you likely find it. So let's scroll down. So I see this one right here, and that's created today, a few minutes ago. Let's go take a look. So yeah, it has 4 records, and the 4 records should be our leads. So this was created today by the integration user. So folks, I'm logged into the CRM as the integration user. So that is correct. And then if we take a look at the records, all right, so it's the same 4 people in our leads report. Uduak, David, Greg, and Robert. It has all the information from that. Where is it? From the report, along with some additional info. So the org ID, the report ID, that got pulled in automatically. I know why. But anyways, the key thing to keep in mind here is the system is using the lead ID as the subscriber key. That is their unique identifier. So every email that gets sent in the future to these 4 people will be tied to their unique identifiers. That's one advantage. The other advantage is when the emails get sent, all the engagement data opens, clicks, unsubscribes, all that good stuff will get pushed from inside of Marketing Cloud into the CRM, and it will be tied to each person's record based on their unique identifier. Okay, so that's where your data extension that was automatically created got saved to. All right, now I'm going to point out a few things. So let's go to the all subscribers list. So these folks, I don't know if we sent them any emails in the past, but let's go take a look at their records in the all subscribers list. So I'll start with Uduak. So let's just search and see what we find about this person. And just a reminder, in case you forgot, which I doubt you did, the all subscribers list is this is where the system checks against whenever any email is being sent out of Marketing Cloud. All right, so the system checks against the all subscribers list to see if the people that have been selected as a recipient or as recipients of an email message, the system checks to see if they exist already on the all subscribers list. If they don't, then it creates a record for them, like it did for Uduak here. It created a record for Uduak, and her unique identifier is the lead ID, as you see here. So this was created today by the system. And if we go take a look at, see, it pulls all that information in here. And if we take a look at the history, I think because the email that we sent was a text-only email, there's no tracking data, so there's no history here showing that email message. But if we send another email that's based on HTML and has that tracking code snippet, we'll be able to see the history here. All right, so same thing. We can check for each of these folks and you'll see their records in the all subscribers list. All right, I'm going to run this and then check for questions just in case. Okay, no questions yet. All right. You guys are following along just nicely. So same thing for David. It created a record for him and it's using his unique identifier. All right. So it'll be the same thing for the other two people, but if you want to see it, we can just show it to you quickly. And then the other thing I want to point out will be in the CRM. So yeah, found this person, unique identifier is their email, sorry, their lead ID. So one quick thing I'll point out while we're still on this, if let's say before we did this integration, before we connected this Marketing Cloud account to this Salesforce CRM sandbox, let's say Black Force, the owner of this account, had already been sending emails to people, let's say to these 4 people. Black Force had already sent them emails in the past and used the email address as their unique identifier. What we'll see when we search for example, when we search for this person, who was this? Great. Okay, that was Greg. So when we search for Greg, what we'll see is 2 records. One record will be same email address and subscriber key will be email address. The other record is this one. And that will happen because they had been using email address as the unique identifier. And that means they'll have duplicate records for Greg and for everyone else who they have been using email addresses as their unique identifier. All right. So as much as you can, where possible, it's not always possible, but where possible, you want to avoid such situations for several reasons. The first reason being you don't want to have duplicate records, just like in the CRM, you don't want to have duplicate records. You don't want it in Marketing Cloud either, because when you have duplicate records, the history, the engagement history is now split across 2 records when it's one person. So that's one reason. The other reason you don't want to have duplicate records is Salesforce, the company, will charge you when you exceed the number of contacts that you've paid for in your Marketing Cloud account. So every Marketing Cloud account has a limit that they've paid for when they signed up. So if you have duplicate records and you go over your limit, they will start to charge you more every so often. Okay. So first question, can you merge those duplicate records? Yes, you can. However, it is a very time-consuming and not so fun process. But hey, consulting companies are happy to take on this kind of work and charge you a premium. All right. You can do it in-house. It's going to be messy, but it is doable. So you can do it yourself in-house, merge the records and clean up your Marketing Cloud account. You can delegate this to a consulting firm to do for you, or you can reach out to Salesforce, the company, to do it for you, and they will give you a hefty price or hefty quote to do this work for you. All right. So the best approach is to avoid it entirely, avoid duplicates. Okay. So let's move on. No, let's search for Robert, just so we do all 4 of them. And then I'll take you to the CRM just to go take a look at these records. Okay, so based on this, Robert should have received that email message. So Robert, can you please confirm that you eventually received that message? Because based on this, it shows it was sent to you. So please check when you have a moment. So now let's go to the CRM. for each of these records, now this you might better understand if I send another email, but the point I want to make here is if the email we sent was an HTML email, not a text-only email like we did, what you'll see on each of these lead records is the email results. So details. So see on the details page, see here on the right, there's the individual email results. So you recall while we were doing one of the steps in this trailhead, I think one of the prior steps was one of these, I think I think it was this step. We made some page layout changes for the lead and contact records. So we added the related list, we added this bit, we added this and this. And the other thing we added was a visual force page, which is this one here. So those were the reasons why we made those page layout edits. What this allows you to do, so let's start with this ones. When you send out emails, when you send out Marketing Cloud emails, either from the CRM or from Marketing Cloud directly, if it's a HTML message, so the email was built using HTML, and you added the tracking code snippet, you'll be able to see the individual email results on the lead or the contact record. All right, so you'll be able to see that information here. You'll be able to see the name of the email, when it was sent, all that good stuff. And then this here, what this allows you to do is three things. So you see how right from this page, you can click on the first link to send a Marketing Cloud email message to just Greg right from the lead record page. All right, so let's give it a shot. When we click on it, it's going to take us here. See that? We can select a message. Let's go find a message, and we're actually going to send this to Greg. This time, let's find an email message that was built on HTML and has a code snippet inside of it, just so we can get tracking data. So let's go find one of my prior messages. Okay, this one, does it have the code snippet? It's my code snippet. See, line 13, that's my code snippet. So let me insert it again, just for you guys who are not as familiar. So see this? That's my code snippet. And now with this, we should be able to get tracking information for an email message. All right, so this email is not a text-only email. This is an HTML email, right? All this stuff here is in HTML. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to select this message from here. So the name of that message is, what is the name? September 21 email message V2. All right. So let's go find our folder. For 2023, September 21 email message V2. So that's the email message. Who do we want it to go out on behalf of? Let's pick a different. All right, how about we just pick one of these guys? We can pick this one. And we want it sent immediately, and we check that box. And this message is going to go to this person. All right. You see what just happened? It brings us back to that lead. It takes us to the message page, but we could go back to the lead. And so what we did was we came to a lead record page, and using the visual force page, this one, we clicked on this first link, and that allows us to send an email message that's built inside of Marketing Cloud to this lead. So a use case for something like this is, let's say, what company should I use now? Let's just say, okay, that's probably why you haven't received it, but you'll eventually get it. Let's say a company such as, you know what, let's use the Toronto Zoo, okay? We all like animals, don't we? The Toronto Zoo has Marketing Cloud and they have the CRM, yes? Let's say Greg at one point went to the zoo and then, oh no, Greg bought tickets to go to the zoo, but he misplaced his tickets. This is a very simple example. He misplaced his tickets. And then he calls the customer service team for the Toronto Zoo. And he says, hey, I wanted to go to the zoo this weekend, but I can't find my tickets. Is there something you guys can help me with? I bought it about 2 weeks ago. The customer service agent can look up Greg's record in their CRM, look up his purchase history and all that jazz, and they can, right from this page, they can go select or elect to send Greg an email message that was built in Marketing Cloud. So you can send Greg an email message and Greg will get that message. That's a very simple use case scenario for something like this. Another example could be Greg was unhappy with his visits to the zoo and he wants some sort of compensation. They can send Greg an email with a voucher for, I don't know, $20 to appease him. All right, that's a use case for something like this inside of this kind of access inside of the CRM. Okay, another example will be, so the third URL here, that allows you to unsubscribe a record inside of Marketing Cloud. So you see, let's demonstrate this one to you. Let's go find Greg's email. So this is Greg's email address, yes? Let's go take a look at Greg in Marketing Cloud. So this is Greg's record in Marketing Cloud. It's going to come up in a minute. See here, that's Greg's record. It's green. Green means he's active, he's subscribed, he wants to receive messages. All right, let's take a look at his history. And Greg, by the way, please let us know when you get that second message, this one that I just sent to you. Okay, no history yet, that's fine. So as we see here, Greg's record is green, he's active, he wants to receive messages. So let's say, if we stick with our Toronto Zoo example, Greg calls the zoo and says, you know what, you guys are sending me too many emails. I'm tired of receiving your email messages. Can you please unsubscribe me from all your messages going forward? The customer service agent pulls up Greg's lead record, says, okay, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Greg. Sorry to piss you off. We will unsubscribe you from our marketing system. And what that customer service agent can do is simply click here, Marketing Cloud unsubscribe, and what we expect to see is this message. Greg was unsubscribed successfully. So if we go back to Marketing Cloud and refresh this, we expect that green icon to change to red. All right? You see that? That is that's the effect of building that connection between both systems. So the customer service agent doesn't need to log into Marketing Cloud to unsubscribe Greg. They could do it right here from his user record page. So either lead or contact. So all these things I was doing right now, you could do them from the lead record page or the contact record page. And let's say 2 weeks later, this same young man calls the Toronto Zoo and says, hey guys, you know what? I'm open to receiving your messages again. Can you please add me back to your newsletters? The customer service agent clicks here, says, okay, Greg, we'll turn it back on. All right. And Greg was successfully resubscribed. So if you go back to the Marketing Cloud and just check, this should change from red back to green because we've resubscribed him. All right. So let's verify that that happened for sure. There you go. See, Greg was resubscribed. So that's additional proof to you guys that the bridge has been built and data is indeed flowing between both systems back and forth. All right. So that's and then the middle URL, that's just to get information on just analytics, performance data on emails that have been sent to Greg over a specific period, all right? And all the tracking data will show up here, just for Greg, not for everyone, all right? So let's go back. So you may have noticed, you know what, just before I point that out, where's this thing? Okay. Greg, please check if you received that email. Because, folks, as you see here on the right-hand side, the system has recorded that we sent this email message to Greg. So the message was successfully sent. We know what business unit it was sent out of. And it's showing on Greg's record, right? Tracking data hasn't come true yet, but it will eventually, all right? So these are the things you enable once you've built that bridge between both systems, the data starts to flow, and you give your CRM users even more access to be able to do things quicker, better, and more efficiently. So this is what I mean when I say Marketing Cloud can function as a platform just fine without being integrated with the CRM. But when you do integrate it, it becomes more powerful. All right? It becomes more powerful because now people who only have the CRM access are able to do all these things. They're able to see all this information. They're able to get a 360-degree view of your customer. And that's why you've probably heard this more than once. Ideally, the CRM should be the single source of truth for an organization. This is where, now this is probably debatable, but this is where all of the information about a customer should sit, such that when you pull up that customer information, either a lead or contact, you can see all their data, right? You can see their info, you can see their engagement data, if you had some e-commerce platform where people can make purchases, data from that platform should get pushed into the CRM. So you can see, for example, all of Greg's purchase history, all of his cases, all of his customer service requests, all of his everything. You can see all in the CRM. All right. So let's see. Okay. So Greg, you haven't seen it. That's fine. It'll come true. It took a while for Roberts, but you will get it. So let's go back to to Marketing Cloud. Let's see if so these are data extensions that got created. And then this is the data extension that got created when I sent that email to Greg. So if I pull this here, see that? That's Greg's email, that's his info. So now, let's need to do something. So we're going to move this data extension from here. We're going to put it in here. So we need it in there because we want the tracking information to get pushed back to the CRM. So this is the one from yesterday. And that. We need this one also. So we need it in the Salesforce data extension, because if we want the tracking data to get pushed back to the CRM, the data extension needs to be here. So what else can I tell you guys? Okay, so yes, moving on to object data. So you guys have you've seen the data flow between both systems, right? Now let's say you wanted to bring in data for these standard objects, account, contacts, lead opportunities. You want to bring it into Marketing Cloud so that you can create segments of people. This is where you'll see those object information. But to bring it in, we have to go to Contact Builder. So we're going to have a class on Contact Builder because there's more than one thing you can do here. But to bring in data about these objects, let's go back to Contact Builder. How do I get rid of this thing? Okay, so data sources. And then synchronized. So this is our integrated CRM, the sandbox, right? So cohort 6, same thing, cohort 6, that's the right CRM. So let's say we want to bring in the contacts and leads object into Marketing Cloud so that we can create segments of people we want to send email messages to from inside of Marketing Cloud. So let's start by setting up one of those objects. So this is a bit slow. So you see here, we're able to see all available entities. In Marketing Cloud, objects are referred to as entities, all right? So in order to bring in some of these other objects, you have to bring in the primary objects, contact, lead. Because if you don't bring in these ones, they're prerequisites for. So for example, if you don't bring in contacts, it's a prerequisite for accounts. You can't bring in account until you bring in contacts, leads, and users, as you see here. So you must synchronize the following entities before you can make this available. So let's start with contacts. We're going to synchronize contacts, and then we can select. So for example, let's say an organization has 1 million contact records. Yeah. Let's say this was not just 5, this was 5 million. 5 million contact records. But out of that 5 million population, they only have email addresses for 1 million. Should they bring in all 5 million into Marketing Cloud? No, there's no point. What they should do is bring in only the 1 million people who they have email addresses for, because the other 4 million, there's no point of having them in Marketing Cloud since you don't have email addresses for them anyway. Okay, so that's one example. You can bring in only contacts that are marked in your system as active, or you could bring in only contacts that were created from a specific date. It's up to you, but you can filter what you bring in. You don't have to bring in what you don't need. Okay. So let's go through with this. So by default, when you're about to bring in an object, some standard fields will be checked off. Those are required by default, all right? So those are the ones that we cannot uncheck. And then you can add additional fields if you need them. So for example, if I need the phone number field to be brought in, I'll check it. If I need first name to be brought in, yes, check that. So last name, sure. Let's start with that. Okay, you can always come back and add additional fields or remove, so unsync fields that you don't need, right? It's not a one and done activity. Okay, so now this is where you select what records you want to bring in. So as I mentioned earlier, you can bring in all records if you want. It's not ideal. Or you can bring in records with email addresses, which is reasonable because those are the people you'll be sending messages to. Or you could bring in records that were created on a specific date. You can use that as your filter. So back to the example of an organization that has 5 million records. If out of that 5 million, they only do business with 500,000, and those 500,000 were created in the last 10 years, you can filter out the ones you don't need. Okay, or if you have a custom field in the CRM that you use to group or identify a specific character in your contacts, you can use that custom field as your filter criteria for who you want to bring into Marketing Cloud. So an example is people who have opted out of email, or you can use some other custom field. All right, but for today's purposes, so we only have 5 contact records. That's fine. For today's illustration purposes, I will go with all records. Okay. Before I proceed, any questions on that bit? Okay. So you notice here in the synchronized data extension, there's nothing here, right? Once it's done synchronizing, we're going to see the contacts data extension. The contacts object is going to appear here. All right, so yes, I'll show that to you again. Okay, so you give it a few minutes and it will start to pull those records from the CRM based on the criteria you've selected to pull them into Marketing Cloud, and you'll be able to access them here. All right. So let's give it a minute. And while this is loading, you can start pulling in the next object. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So let's just refresh So refresh. So nothing's here yet. So let's bring in our lead records. We want what fields? Created date, sure. First name, yes. Last name, yes. Email should already be selected. Okay, so that's there. Go next, and we want all our lead records. How many leads do we have? We should have 4. Okay, so we have 4 leads. We'll say bring in all records. Or we can say bring in all records with an email address. We know we only have 4, and all 4 of them have email addresses, so we expect to see 4 records synchronized. Just before I save and synchronize, you see here, there's a poll schedule. This here is how you set the frequency for how often you want the system to update from the CRM into Marketing Cloud. So the highest frequency you can get is every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, Marketing Cloud will pull all, in this case, all leads with an email address into, it'll pull them from the CRM into Marketing Cloud every 15 minutes. All right. So if we say save and synchronize, contact registration pending. Okay. Let's see if they've shown up. Okay, see that? The contact synchronized data extension has shown up, and we can go into it. All right, and it's shown up with all the fields that we selected. If we want, we can add more fields, or we can remove some of these fields. To do either of those options, we have to come back here and make those selections. All right, so if we go take a look at these records, this is their information here. So if we come back to all contacts, these are the same people right here. See these guys, these 5 people? That's who we see here. All right, so that's how you pull data from standard objects in the CRM into Marketing Cloud. And you can also pull custom objects. All right, it's not limited to just standard objects. Any object, you know what, let me take that back. You can pull most standard objects and most custom objects. I'm not going to give you this blanket. You can pull all standard and custom objects. All right? So it's most, a large majority you can pull from here into here. So for example, one object that I think you cannot pull from here is report. So the report object cannot be pulled or cannot be synchronized from here, but there's a different way to get your report data into Marketing Cloud. But what do reports contain? Reports, at least if you're thinking from the perspective of grouping people and sending them an email, a report is made up of leads or contacts you want to send an email to. Yes. So if you already have leads and contacts here, you can segment them and still send them your email. All right. So that's how you pull those records in. So let's do this last one, and we'll take any questions you guys have. Active, sure. Okay, so go next. Records, sure. So in a few seconds, we'll see this third object show up here. So one quick thing to point out, which some of you may already have noticed, is these CRM objects show up in Marketing Cloud and they show up as data extensions, all right? Because data extensions are the mechanism that we use to hold data inside of Marketing Cloud, okay? In addition, you'll notice the naming convention of how they showed up. So this showed up by itself with this naming convention, lead_Salesforce. That's how you know this is the leads object from the CRM. In addition, the data extension type says synchronized here, right? Compared to, say, a regular data extension. Let me show you one of our regular ones. So see our regular data extensions, those show up as standard or filtered or random, whereas this shows up as synchronized. Okay? So you had a question. It looks like you've answered your own question, but I'll still read it. How come number of Brexit is being enabled and different from the message? Yeah. So good. I like it when people answer questions. So this is the column for number of records. That's more for number of fields, right? So let's say I wanted to send an email to a group of contacts. Yes? How do I create a list of contact records from the CRM to send an email to them? Can anyone answer that question? So I've integrated my CRM into this Marketing Cloud account, and I want to send an email to some contact records or one contact record, a specific contact record. How do I create a data extension that contains that contact record so I can send that person an email? Who wants to give it a shot? You can raise your hand up and I'll unmute you. And this question is for the newer folks. Anyone who's taken this course before, you already know the answer to that, so. All right. Let's see, who is volunteering? Create filter delete from the synchronized delete. Okay, we had a line page with contact person. Okay, so you see, both answers are correct. So if I want to send an email from Marketing Cloud to, let's say I want to send an email to JTest, yeah? From inside of Marketing Cloud. I'll come to the contact Salesforce synchronized data extension. I'll create a filtered data extension based on this. So what is the person's, what's their name? JTest. No, let's just use email. So I'll create a filtered data extension to find email equals to JTest. And I'm going to, just select this. Let's call it the JTest. Yes. Say save, and it's going to check in my contact object to find anybody whose email address equals to this. So it's processing my request, and you see here, there's one person who meets that requirement. and it's this guy, JTest. All right. So now I have this data extension, right? And the contact key, which is, so if you go here, the contact key, that's my contact ID. So you notice in here, it's called the contact key, but it's your contact ID, which is this value here. Where is it? 0017. Where is it here? Oh, this is account, not, hold up. Oh, I'm looking at account. I want the contact record, not the. All right, let's go back one step. I want the contact record, not the account. JTest, there he is. It's brought me back to accounts. Oh, it's a person account. That's fine. All right. Nevertheless, so the unique identifier is this, which is because this is a person account. If it was a regular contact, it would be, I think contact started 003. Anyways, the system knows what the unique identifier is. You don't need to do any extra work. So if I wanted to send an email to this one guy, so JTest data extension, let's demonstrate it. It's the same process to send an email to any data extension. So, but I'll demonstrate it to you guys. So let's say I wanted to send an email to that data extension that has this one person. I go to my email message. I click on send. And then I'll go next. Here, see, I'm able to see the Salesforce data extensions folder. I'm able to select my JTest data extension and see, it's the right data extension. It has one person, and I can go through this process and send that email message to this one guy. All right. So it's the same process for sending an email to a regular data extension, just like any of these ones. All right. So that's why last week we went through how to do all of this essential stuff with regular data extensions. And we are building on top of all of that. All right. Questions? Okay, Jane.
Hi, my question is, if we have like a sales lead process, say the lead goes through certain stages, maybe marketing qualified, sales qualified, and you want to use those criteria to filter out the leads that you want to import in Marketing Cloud. Is there a way to do that and segment, picking out just certain criteria? You don't want to import all the leads.
Right. So the best way to do that is in the CRM, create a formula field that will grab all these requirements and figure out which records meet your requirement. And then, so that's one. The second thing is create a custom field on the contact record, on the lead record, and that custom field should be a checkbox. So the formula field you created in step one should either check or uncheck this custom field on the lead record, and then we can use that checkbox on your lead record inside of Marketing Cloud to bring in just the people who meet your requirement. All right, so here's an example. Let's say our requirement was lead created date, right? Let's say that was our requirement. We'll create a custom field for the lead object, and we'll put in some formula in there to say, find me every lead that was created within the last 7 days. And then the second checkbox field should either get checked or unchecked on the lead record. And then inside the Marketing Cloud, we'll come here. We'll come here to synchronized, and we go to the lead object. And then once this loads, so right now, we're pulling in all records with an email address, right? If we wanted to use a different criteria, then we'll come here and select that custom checkbox field that you created in step 2 in the CRM. And we'll say, we want everybody where the value is true for that requirement. And that's who will get pulled in. Because as you see here, you can't do any calculations in here. So if your requirement is not straightforward, you're better off solving for it in the CRM, creating a custom checkbox field, and then accessing that field here. Or if we use the other example that I gave, you want only records that were created since a specific date. You can do that here. But if you were going to use a range, let's say we want records created within the last 7 to 14 days. This here doesn't allow us to use a range. That's why you'll have to solve for it in the CRM and then make that custom field available here. And you can use a true or false value. So the checkbox is checked or unchecked, and you use that to bring your people in. Cool?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? What else do we need to tell you guys about Marketing Cloud Connect? Was someone trying to speak? Or okay, maybe not. All right. The next thing we need to do for Marketing Cloud Connect. So we've established that the connection is in place. We're able to pull data across both sides. We're able to send emails, use all these features from the CRM, and we're able to see object data inside of Marketing Cloud. The next thing or final thing that we need to do is so right here, when you're ready to deploy Marketing Cloud Connect to your users. So far, I've only given my integration user access to Marketing Cloud. All right. So I'm going to connect my regular user, which is the SFMC instructor. I'm going to give that user access to Marketing Cloud Connect. Because right now, that user doesn't have, that user, because I've now integrated, so just so I carry you guys along, I'm not going to, so see here, I'm going to point out something to you. There's a final step, and that's what we have here. So see how on the CRM side, we have to connect each user or user profile with a corresponding user in Marketing Cloud for every person we want to give access to Marketing Cloud, right? We've done that for the integration user. Now we need to do it for our regular user. Or if this was being done for a client, you need to do it for all of the clients employees who have CRM access and also need to have Marketing Cloud access. So you need to build that one-to-one relationship for their user records. So let me show you what I mean. So for my integration user, I've connected my integration user record with I've connected my integration user record in Marketing Cloud, which is this one. I've connected it with my integration user record in the CRM, which is this guy right here. All right. So you see the username. This user, integration user, is connected with the Marketing Cloud integration user. That's what we use to build our bridge, right? So, and also here, I've integrated that user with this one. So let me show it to you. See here, salesforce.com username is support@blackforce.ca. So support@blackforce.ca. So those two users are now connected. It works just fine. So now I need to do this same connection for my regular users. So I'm going to do it so let me show you for this record. So for this user record, see here, it says status is not integrated, right? So I need to integrate this user here, which is the instructor, with the corresponding user, which is this one. So I need to connect this user here with this username with this Marketing Cloud user here so that I have this one-to-one relationship. All right. So that's the final thing you need to do once you've built the bridge, tested that you're able to pull object data, you're able to send emails, everything works just fine. That's the final step, as you see here. All right. So I'm going to log out of my integration user record. And I'll also log out here. And now I'll log back in as my regular user. So this guy. Let's go. Okay, so this one, I need that password here. Oh, no, that's CRM. Come on. Okay, now I need to click. So 92586. Okay. So now I'm logged in. As you see here, I'm logged in as my regular user, not the integration user. So I'm going to go to this. I need to log in here too. What's our username? Our username is sandbox. So it's this one. And then, actually, I don't even need to log in here. I just need to go. So in Marketing Cloud, I'll go find my regular user record. And I will do that integration that one-to-one integration between my Marketing Cloud user and my CRM user. So right now it says it's not integrated. I'm going to integrate it. So here I just need to enter my CRM username, which is this. And I say save settings, and it will connect. So see now it's integrated, right? That's all I need to do. So you just need to do this for every CRM user who also has a corresponding Marketing Cloud user and needs to have access to both systems. So that's the final step, as you see in the trail, in this Marketing Cloud Connect trail. Okay, so so let's go with the first question to confirm this integration. Is something to allow the user to send one cloud. Yes, that's what it is. To allow the user in the CRM to be able to send Marketing Cloud emails from the CRM, and also, yeah, just making sure also when they send emails, when they're logged into Marketing Cloud and they send emails to contacts or leads, it works as expected. So it's just making sure they're able to access the right information from both sides. They're able to use the bridge. That's the gist of it. Okay. And then the second question, if I can pull this, why does this thing disappear? I believe these non-integration users and necessarily do not need to have Marketing Cloud. No, they don't need to have the highest level of access. So, for example, if let's show you, if I'll come back. So, Michael, okay, let's pull your name up. Okay. So if, let's say, for example, Michael had a user in the CRM and the user was just a regular user, they didn't have administrator level access, and they just needed to be able to send emails. We can integrate Michael's CRM user with his Marketing Cloud user. We just need to put the CRM username here and click on Save Settings. So for example, if I put, so these two, these are already used. The support one is for our integration user, while this one is for my instructor user. If I try to integrate Michael's Marketing Cloud user with this CRM user, this is what's going to happen. It's going to give me this error message. It's already mapped to a different Marketing Cloud user in this Salesforce org. So that's why you need that one-to-one. It has to be like for like. All right? So it has to be Michael's corresponding user record in the CRM. So now let's go back. I saw another question. Get this to load. Is there a max amount of users we can add as a Marketing Cloud user? There's no max. If you have 100 people who have licenses in the CRM and they also have corresponding licenses in Marketing Cloud, and they need to be able to send emails from the CRM, you just go through the same exercise. You integrate, there's no max, right? So let's just breeze through these slides to make sure I did not miss any key information. So if there's anything that I need to point out, I will point it out. Okay, did all of that. Excuse me. So Yeah, so you can read this in your own time. Yeah, so these are just screenshots showing you those additional tabs that become available once you've done the integration. And then how to send an email. Let's see. Yeah, I've demonstrated all of this to you. Yeah, demonstrated and explained all of this stuff. But this is all good to refer to if you need to. Let's see. So this just talked about A/B testing. So you can also do A/B testing. You can do regular email sends from the CRM. You can also do triggered sends if needed. Analytics. Yeah, so in terms of analytics, the data, the engagement data sometimes can be slow to show up in the CRM, but so what is the minimum? Yeah, it has to be standard license. You can't use all those other non-standard licenses. Yeah, it has to be standard license. Thank you for answering that question. This is all just analytics. And I'm just going through this to make sure I do not miss any information. And then in the reporting section, you can also, so in the reporting section of the CRM, you can also get some of the reporting information for emails that were sent. That's what this here is pointing out. And of course, you can also find all this information inside of Marketing Cloud. And then this, I was just showing you how unsubscribe works. So yeah, we demonstrated that. Demonstrated that. So I'm just checking through the slides to make sure there's no key information. Okay, so I mentioned that you can bring in most objects. So I'll come back to that talk, but let's see. For deprovisioning users, just deactivate the both systems and the link breaks. I'll rephrase your question. If someone leaves the organization and you want to remove their access, how do you do it? Yeah, you just turn them off in both systems and yeah, you just disable the access. So folks, I mentioned you can bring in most custom and standard objects into Marketing Cloud as a synchronized data extension, but you are unable to bring in reports via this method. The way to bring in reports, so if we search for reports, it doesn't show up, right? The way to bring in reports will be to follow the steps here. So if you're going to bring in reports, you could bring it in through the steps. It's called a data import. So you often won't need to do this, but if for some reason you do, this is how you do it. All right. If you need to bring in a report to send an email to a bunch of people inside of a report, the key thing to keep in mind is when you're going through this process, you also have to select the contact ID or the lead ID. If you do not bring in those unique identifier fields, you're going to likely create duplicate records and your tracking data will not get pushed back to the CRM. Okay, but that's how you do it. You bring it in, train, import. Let's see what else. Synchronized data extensions. That's where the object data gets saved. Let's see. So I'm just making sure there's nothing that we missed. So some of this is now straying into Journey Builder. So Journey Builder, we're going to start talking about next week. But there's a class prior to Journey Builder. We're going to talk about Automation Studio first, and then we'll talk about Journey Builder. But all of this stuff builds on top of each other. We had to get the essentials, the Marketing Cloud Connect. We had to get all of that in place before we talk about Journey Builder, right? But all of the things we've enabled and learned about from the essentials classes and this Marketing Cloud Connect classes, they'll become useful when we talk about Automation Studio and Journey Builder. Okay. This section just tells you about how to manage that connection. So I have a bunch of screenshots that show you how to get there, how to update any of the settings in that middle ground that manages the bridge or that manages the connection. So, and this here just shows you that process I just walked you through of integrating a Marketing Cloud user with their corresponding CRM user. Let's see. Okay, I think we've covered all the good stuff. Everything else. Yeah, we didn't miss any vital information. This you really don't need to worry about. Data limit, okay. So this one, this is good to point out because when we were setting this up, we selected to have all tracking data pushed back into the CRM. So aggregate, individual level data, we wanted everything pushed back to the CRM. So as you see here, only engagement data from email sent will count towards your data limits in the CRM. And so you just need to keep an eye on your CRM data storage limit because over time, within the first year, you'll probably be fine. But by the time after you've had the integration in place for a year plus, and if you send lots of emails and lots of engagement data is getting pushed back to the CRM, your CRM data storage limit might start to reduce, right? So if that becomes the case, you can go back into the Marketing Cloud Connect settings and either reduce what data you want brought back in, or you can delete some of the data, the tracking data, the old tracking data in your CRM. There are different options. All right? But this is the bit I'm talking about, the aggregate, the individual tracking, all that. You can uncheck some of these if you don't need it. Okay. And this just tells you about the info. So this image here just shows you just if you work in an organization that has multiple Salesforce production instances, let's say you work in a very large organization. I'll use RBC. Let's say you work at RBC. They have Marketing Cloud and they also have the CRM. But each line of business has their own separate accounts. So, or has their own separate business units. Capital Markets has a business unit. Credit cards has a business unit. Commercial banking, retail banking, they all have their own Marketing Cloud business units. And correspondingly, they all have their own CRM instances, capital markets, real estate, credit cards. You can connect each of their CRM instances to their Marketing Cloud business units. All right. That's what's called the multi-org integration. So you just need to reach out to Salesforce support to enable the multi-org feature, because by default, it's not available. By default, you can only connect one business unit to one CRM instance, all right? But when they enable the multi-org feature, you can now connect multiple business units, okay? So that's that for Marketing Cloud Connect. Any final questions before we move on to a different application inside of Marketing Cloud? Okay, so we successfully did Marketing Cloud Connect. Yes, Robert.
If I want to train different departments to run their own emails and journey builders and whatnot, do I need to provide them with the both admin pieces, or can I set them up so they can do everything else but not give them admin? Do you know what I mean? So I want them to be able to build their own emails, build their journeys, set everything up, send their emails, check their reports, all that stuff.
Inside their own business unit, correct?
Well, we only have one business unit right now because we haven't grown that size. So it's just our one individual. So if I then train each person to be able to do their own emails,
yeah,
do I have to give them the two admins in order for them to do it?
No. So what you need to do is what we've done here for you and your colleagues. We created a custom role. So, and that's what you need to do. So see, this is a custom role, and we've enabled specific levels of access to different applications inside of Marketing Cloud. And with this role assigned to you, you're able to access everything that you need access to. But the one thing that I don't think I have to double check. I don't think you should have access to the setup section. All right?
Okay.
So same thing like in the CRM. You don't give everybody administrator level access. You give them access or permission sets based on their job function, based on the objects that they need to be able to access, the reports or data that they need to be able to use to perform their job. All right? So same thing you do in Marketing Cloud.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, next question, multi-org. Multi-org equals let's say this org connected to one enterprise having multiple. Yes, that's what it means. That's correct, Michael. And I saw Ogochukwu. Let's unmute you. All right, go ahead.
My question is similar to what Robert asked, but quite different. If you have an external agency that want to do an integration or like a connect to on your SFMC, right? And they are requesting for both admin assets, like administrator access and Salesforce marketing administrator access. If you wanted to just ensure they don't break things in the org, you're correct, you're quite constrained because you can't deny their request, right? But what would you do to protect yourself if you're the administrator of that marketing cloud?
So the number one value for Salesforce, the company, is trust. And it's trust for a reason. So if this organization that you partner with, they're looking to help you do something, it seems like you're not trusting what they're about to do. You're scared they might break something, which is fair. They actually might break something. So your options are, you either give them the full level access and let them do what they've told you they're going to do, or you'll have to work with them. So you say, okay, I'm going to give you this access, but when you're going to work on this thing you want to do, we're going to book a call. It's going to be for 1 hour, and I'm going to be watching. You'll do a screen share so I can see everything you're doing and make sure you're not breaking anything.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's either you trust them or you watch them.
Okay.
Or option number 3, you create a custom profile, a custom role that would give them everything they should be able to access, just like we did here. Those are your options. Those are your 3 options.
Okay. All right. I could still ask you after the class, right? Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, Michael has a lot of questions today, eh? But they can do that in the supposed SFMC sandbox. Oh yeah, look, Michael has a good suggestion for you. So option number 4 for you, Ogochukwu, is you can give them, so let's say your organization let's say this was your organization. The Manifest and Co is your production. That's where you do all of your live stuff. And the Black Force Business Unit is your quote unquote sandbox. You can give them full access. Well, actually, yeah, you can give them full access to this Black Force Business Unit, which is your sandbox, but don't give them access to your Manifest and Co. They can do everything they need to do in here, but not in the production one. So, Michael, thank you for that option number 4 suggestion. Okay, more questions are streaming in. Who came first? Jane, go ahead.
Hi, mine isn't just a question, it's just to add to what you mentioned, because we did an integration in my company recently and it was Gainsight to Salesforce. So the consultants, we didn't give them access to Salesforce. All we did every time there was an issue was to just screen share and walk through the process with them. So like you said, it depends on companies. Some companies are very strict with their rules of, sharing access with third parties. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it definitely depends on the company because, for example, if they're dealing with sensitive data, then you have to be more careful because the company has to cover its behind. Thank you for that, Jane. Ogo, yes.
So thank you all for your suggestions, but maybe I should provide some context. We actually thought of doing the screen sharing option, but the agency said that would really take a long time. So the thing is, we're trying to integrate the mobile connect to the SFMC, right? But they said they want the eyes of they want the God level, because that will help them do things seamlessly, like trying to implement a short code for the SFMC. And they don't want the screen sharing, like I said. We don't have a production or a sandbox. We all have all the sub brands have their business units, right? So there's no other business unit I can tell them to try to implement what they want to do and then replicate it. So I'm kind of constrained in that aspect. I was considering the security part for that, as the Salesforce marketing administrator security role or so. But if I have that role added to my own role, will I be able to really give me an edge over them, since what I do have now is just marketing, or what do you think?
So this role here is, so okay, let me start by asking you a question. What roles do you currently have?
I have marketing cloud administrator and marketing clouds. The two admin, marketing cloud administrator and administrator. Yes, those two.
So you have the combination of these two.
Yes.
Okay. If you add this one, or if you add any other one, you are going to be limiting yourself to the highest level of access for that added or that additional role. For example, if we add this one, all you'll be able to do is whatever the highest level of access this role offers. Same thing here. So by adding this one, you're not giving yourself additional powers. With these two, you already have the God-like power inside of Marketing Cloud. So that doesn't solve your problem. All right?
Okay.
The other bit is your organization has hired a consultant or some partner to implement this solution. You guys signed an agreement with them. They've given you some SOW, some scope of work, and they've identified what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. So in that agreement, they probably also requested a certain level of access, which is these two roles. So being reluctant to give them that level of access, you're tying their hands. If you want them to get the work done in the time frame that you've agreed to in the agreement, in your contract, you'll be better off giving them the access level they need. You guys signed an agreement. If they do something that's outside of the agreement, well, that's when your lawyers will come in. All right?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. Okay, any final comments? Exactly. If your organization is already, thank you, Michael. If your organization is already that large and you have such a large user group, you're doing some of these advanced things, you should by this point have a second business unit as recommended by Michael. Yeah, so if you have that, you'll be able to solve this conundrum that you currently are in. You just give them access to that second business unit. They can build what they need to build. Well, actually, I'll take that back. What you said is they are implementing Mobile Connect. So Mobile Connect, folks, is this application. This is something that needs to be done in the production environment. So even if we give them access to, say, a sandbox environment, it doesn't solve the problem. This has to be done in the production instance. So yeah. But if they were just building something small, say some journeys or some automations or some queries, then yes, the sandbox business unit might help. Okay, good discussion. I was going to start with our next topic or next application, which is Automation Studio. But considering that we only have 9 minutes, well, I can tell you a bit about it and we'll continue tomorrow. Let's see, no other questions? Okay. So folks, we're moving on to Automation Studio. So this is an application inside of Marketing Cloud that allows you to do a bunch of things that we will learn about subsequently. So now I can close this now. So here's the agenda for our Automation Studio session, which will be mostly next week, but this is what you're going to understand in terms of Automation Studio. So in general, these are the reasons why organizations use automations: to save time, get data flowing between systems, to send the right message at the right time, and to execute multi-step campaigns seamlessly. All right. We're still back on that topic. Yeah. So, Michael, perhaps you want to come off mute just to make sure we see. Where are you, Michael? Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, hi, Abby. Good evening. Sorry, it's because
Yes.
my background can be a bit noisy. You were showing that diagram of multi-org setup, right?
Yes.
So it looks
Yes.
like we can have multiple. So I was just asking the question in my comment above that, does it mean we can have multiple SFDC instances connected to one enterprise SFMC instance with multiple EUs?
That is correct. Yes.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So yes, it is doable. And as I mentioned, it's not available by default. If you want it to be made available, you have to reach out to Salesforce support. So they will enable it, and then you can do the integration of those different instances of your CRM to the different business units inside the one Marketing Cloud account. All right. So an example of such a situation will be, I mentioned P&G earlier this week. P&G has multiple lines of businesses with different products. Let's say they had 10 business units inside this Marketing Cloud account, and then they had 10 CRM instances. They can connect each of those 10 business units to the 10 CRM instances to make sure the data is flowing between those platforms. All right. So it is doable. If you're on the consultant side, you might come across it here and there. It's not too common. I haven't done it myself. I know of someone who's done it, but it's not too common, but it is doable. Okay. So what you mostly see in most cases is the organization has one CRM, and then they have different contact record types, right? And then they might have multiple business units, but they bring the data in for all the different contact record types, and then they make it available in the shared data extensions. So every business unit has access to the shared data extensions, and they can grab their own data and use it in their own business unit. That's the more common use case scenario compared to the multi-org setup, but the multi-org is also available if needed. Yeah. Okay, so folks, this just gives you a preview into what we're going to talk about next week. It'll be Automation Studio and the different things you can do with Automation Studio inside of Marketing Cloud. We'll leave it there for tonight. You have, I think I've overemphasized it, you have access to the slides for all the classes, past and upcoming. So you can go through the slides prior to class. You can log into the account and play around and get a better understanding of some of these things so that when you come to class, you're able to take advantage of the time we're spending together and get your questions answered. All right. So folks, thank you for your participation. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for your comments. We will leave it there for tonight. Enjoy your weekend and talk next week.